Hi, welcome back. Ever wonder what happened that horrifying day when we had been in Afghanistan for about the last 20 years and all of a sudden we pulled out and pretty much left overnight, leaving the country in shambles and handing it over to the Taliban? I'm sure you'll remember the shocking images of the desperation of people trying to flee their own country because their lives were at stake. Out of the millions of people trying to escape the country, only about 120,000 people were airlifted from the Kabul airport. But that number wasn't only Afghans. It also included numerous citizens from other countries, especially the US. Over the next year, nearly 3.6 million more would go on to escape, mostly being able to flee and escape into neighboring countries. And they were able to escape that terror and tyranny of the now stronger than ever Taliban. But there are so many more that have been stuck in Afghanistan. Well, I'm going to tell you about my own personal experience housing a family that did escape on one of those flights and their story of freedom and starting a new life here in the West. Years ago, a friend of mine returned home from being deployed in Afghanistan. This was probably 15 years ago. And he was describing to me how hard it was for him to acclimate being home here. He just kept telling me that people here don't get it. We don't get how good we have it. And we've worked so hard historically as a country to get to this point of freedom. And he just kept describing to me that people here just seem to take it for granted and they complain about the littlest things. The contrast that he was experiencing of peace and war that he felt in both countries was so immense that he described to me that here in America, we live in a fairy tale compared to what people there are experiencing across the world. I know it's hard to imagine being one of these people as we live in a stable society, not feeling any imminent danger of a terrorist group seizing control of our country. But just for a few moments, I ask you to put yourself in the shoes of this mother that I'm about to describe. Okay, so you're living in Afghanistan and your husband has been working with the United States military for about 15 years in the attempts to fight multiple different terrorist groups that are all threatening the safety of your country. The US military is then given orders by President Joe Biden to pull out, and the Taliban seizes control and claims victory on August 15th, 2021. Your husband is now one of the largest targets of this terrorist group, who have been known to consistently commit more war crimes, including massacres, suicide bombings, anti-personal IED use, terrorism using civilians as human shields, executing soldiers, and mass rape. At the time of this happening, Hadisa had 2 daughters and was 1 month pregnant, realizing that if they don't escape, her husband is dead, and her daughters are at even worse a fate. Can you imagine what it would be like being a mom trying to escape with your children the clutches of one of the most dangerous terrorist groups in the world? Well, they were one of the few that very, very luckily made it out. They ended up needing to leave so quickly that her husband, we'll call Muhammad, didn't get to say goodbye to his own mom. But they did make it out, leaving family and friends behind. They boarded a flight and they were gone. How do you feel to know that you've successfully escaped the oppression of the Taliban, but then you're realizing that you're now at the complete mercy of other people and having no idea where or when you're going to end up at a destination that you can call home? Hadisa and Muhammad were displaced for the next 8 long months. Meanwhile, she's pregnant this entire time. They were in multiple refugee camps across the world, and they were finally able to make it to the United States and made it to my own home state and were free and safe and taken care of. At least that's what they were told what would happen. That didn't end up being the case. In future episodes, I'll be describing in detail my own experience with this amazingly strong and resilient family. But for now, KSL Podcast has done an incredible job in also following our refugee family and their transition to freedom in their podcast series called Stranger Becomes Neighbor. We're in episode 5. I really hope you check it out. It's in the link below. And in the future, we're going to be recording multiple more episodes on our amazing experience that we had with our entire community being able to help this family. I can't wait for you to hear it.